This is Tracer Talks, conversations with top industry experts on trending topics for brands and digital risk protection, featuring your host, Tracer CEO, Rick Farnell.
Welcome everyone to our Tracer Talk. Today we'll be talking to Nancy Merritt, VP, Brand Protection Centers of Excellence. Our Tracer Talk today is advancing brand protection through partnerships and centers of excellence. Nancy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Rick. Thanks for having me. It's very exciting.
So Nancy, you've been in the brand protection space for a few years. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your career, and your experience and what you're bringing to Tracer.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been a few years. I started in this space back in 2010 and kind of took a real career shift from what I was doing prior to that. Entered into brand protection with one of the founding companies. And I feel like I really grew up in this space. I started as a brand analyst and was a CSM for a few years, and then was really fortunate to have the support of leadership and executive team members that I worked with in building out what has now become, I think, a really relevant and valuable partnership space. That was where it started. Back several years ago, just noticed as we were kind of working through internal issues that no one really had the outreach or kind of the focus to build relationships with the platforms. That was really where it started, particularly in marketplaces. We would be working through whether it was a technical issue, an enforcement issue, and we'd all kind of be sitting around going, do you know anybody? Is there anyone we can talk to? And so, as I said, I had the support of internal team members to kind of build out a role that was dedicated to just going out and building relationships with platforms. And then that's carried me into where I am today. I did spend some time working for a platform for a year and a half before coming back around to the service provider and tech space with Tracer.
One aspect of partnerships is many people think that a partnership is you build a partnership once and then you have a partnership. But can you talk a little bit about the dynamic nature of partnerships, specifically in brand protection and what we do, and why it's so important to have a constant relationship with all the platforms and all the folks that we do partner with?
Yeah, for me, it's always been about balance, right? So while we all love the innovation that we're creating through technology and we want things to be as efficient and automated as possible, I believe that you still have to have the piece where you can sit down and have a conversation with a human, right? Just like we talk about human in the loop when it comes to technology, it's the same for relationships. And so while more often than not, things work great when we're talking about enforcement processes or paths or, gathering of data, there are just times when it maybe breaks down or something changes. And so being able to have a person to reach out to have a conversation. And I really try to be careful with that, because we could honestly be reaching out to platforms daily and just asking for favors and asking for help and asking for support. So we want it to be a two-way street. We want to be able to offer something in return, which is how do we do better, right? How do we make sure that what we're doing is appropriate and is helping their efficiency and their ability to process the things that we're sending. And so it's not just a one and done. It is over years, some of these relationships that we've built, conversations and iterating, and how do we do better and what do we need from each other from both like our side and theirs.
And for consumers that are watching this program, maybe not necessarily brand protection professionals, can you explain a little bit about why Tracer really invests in having partnerships with these platform providers, so both better tracing capabilities and the enforcement side as it relates to our platform, just to give a sense of why are these technology relationships that are originally built from the people and the partners, why is that so important? And then the continued partnership with the people for escalations.
Yeah, I think part of it goes to transparency, right? So we want to be open about who we are as Tracer and what we're trying to do. We don't want to hide behind the curtain. We want to say, hey, look, we have a lot of things we're trying to gather at large scale and big volume. And so rather than it being treated like just any other, like a tech or a bot or something, we want to go and say to a platform, here's who we are, here's what we're trying to do. And at the end, it's helping both of us. If we're able to get the information we need for brands and for consumers to effectively keep the internet clean and safe as possible, then we want you to know that's what we're trying to do. And, we want you to try to help us do it, right? So we aren't also being nefarious, but I think it can get lost in kind of this world of like, there's all this tech floating around trying to connect, right? And it's like, everything's automated and it's bots and it's volume and it's this and that. And so we, again, want to have that conversation and be upfront. And so then it also helps on keeping us accountable, if you will. So again, we're sending things at high volumes, mistakes happen. We want to work through those, but we also, the platforms can audit us and report back to us and give feedback to say, hey, we really want you to try this instead. This would make our lives easier. And so again, it works both ways. We're able to be more efficient and effective in what we're doing and keeping the space safe and clean. And we're able to help them do the same.
That metric of keeping a brand clean, therefore their consumers and their customers don't have bad actors fishing against them or selling them counterfeit products or trying to launch support scams. So as Tracer, maybe explain a little bit why the partnership really helps us maintain that time to take down best in industry that we're shooting for.
Yeah, I think, again, the partnerships give us also some visibility, particularly as Tracer being like a newer name or company in the industry compared to others, right? It's, again, allowing that transparency that we talked about, but it also gives us the ability to work through issues that you can't handle just by sending an email or filling out a form. And we might see unique business problems for customers that don't fall into a very typical brand protection realm, if you will, a straightforward counterfeit or copyright or trademark issue, but it's still brand protection. It's still reputation. It's still safety. It might be a policy issue. If we don't have those relationships, then we can't navigate that whole ecosystem and understand what is the best path forward.
As far as partnerships go, there's ranges. We have amazing partnerships with a number of platforms, and then some emerging partnerships with others. And there's new platforms coming out, either in the marketplace area or social media. Certainly, lots and lots of activity there and innovation. But if you were to maybe describe, without naming platforms, what is like the best partnership aspects, right? So how do we say, whoa, this partnership with this platform is amazing because of what? Like, what is it that makes one of our partners rise to the top? And how do we get the rest of the platform players to that level?
Yeah. For me, it's a partnership that we consider to be truly collaborative. And that's the word that we use when we kind of internally sort of bucket, if you will, the partnerships we have. Many are cooperative, and that's great, which means when we reach out and we ask for some support, we get it. And that's wonderful. But the truly collaborative relationships are the ones where the platform also comes to us to say, hey, we're about to launch a new iteration of our own platform. Can you test it out? What would you have us do differently? Can you have your power users, whether it's our internal folks at Tracer or the brands themselves, give us feedback on what would make this better? Those are the kinds of collaborative relationships that we look for, and sort of the ability to, I think, participate in unique opportunities with the platform that not everyone else might have.
So let's jump to maybe some of the threats that we see out there and some regionality. The region of APAC compared to maybe North America, South America, and Europe. So let's focus on APAC. It's often one of the most talked about locations without naming a specific country in that region. Why is that?
I mean, this is not a new thing, right? And you're right. To be honest, it's not a specific country. It is multiple countries within that region. I think part of it is cultural differences. What we maybe don't widely accept here in terms of, counterfeit culture and dupe culture and intellectual property is viewed very differently in other regions. And so we see it as a huge threat, and it's just part of that culture. I mean, you can go to certain countries and see, brick and mortar stores that have counterfeit goods, and it's widely accepted. And so it's really difficult to combat against this. I think the other piece of that is, understandably, a lot of even American companies, right, have goods manufactured in those countries where then the threat exists, because if you have manufacturing facilities there, then it's very easy to, use the runoff products and sell them, or reverse engineer and create copies. And so it's kind of a catch-22 in that sense. And so it's really difficult to battle against that when it is just ingrained in different belief systems.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Tracer Talks. To see more content on brands and digital risk protection, visit our website, tracer.ai.